Good afternoon, evening, and morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, we are back. Yeah, that was great. That was clipped.
Yeah.
Clean like an Easton stick.
Okay.
But anywho, so we are back for episode 3. There's a couple of things. Where should we start with?
Well, do you want to start with the stuff that came out? Well, I think we should start chronologically.
Do you want to work backwards?
No, maybe not backwards, but I was thinking work forwards. Like, let's see.
Like, okay, work
Just
from
start
the back.
somewhere. I don't care.
Okay, so just a couple of signings that are interesting. Jeff Petrie re-signed with the Montreal Canadiens for an average of $6.5 million.
Solid defenseman. Solid contract.
Solid defenseman. Interestingly enough, people, for the record,
how many years?
For 4 years.
Okay.
That's solid.
Yeah.
I
got no problem with that.
Top pairing defenseman. Thomas Greiss is going to hit the unrestricted free agency market.
As so many other
that's
goalers
not
are.
new, yeah. I'm looking at the timing of everything here. Sam Gagner, legendary Oilers player, has signed a 1-year extension with $850,000. That's pretty much just veteran leadership, just going to a place that has none of it. Because Detroit's really young. It's going to be a really young team.
And isn't that when what's-his-name came back for Nashville? He signed for something like that? Was it Fisher? That
Mike
1 year?
Fisher?
Remember when Nashville went on a run and he's like,
Right.
Oh,
yes.
I'm going to come back for the
yeah,
run?
Yeah. He did that in 2017-18.
Yeah.
Yeah, he re-signed. He just signed just for that.
Was that the year we...
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
that was the year they
because
lost.
Because he was there the entire time, the time before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark Stahl was traded to the Detroit Red Wings and a second-rounder for future considerations.
I like that trade. I like that because what's great about that is Mark Stahl has 1 year left on that contract. So Detroit, they got a lot of cap. They got a lot of cap room right now, and they're not in the situation that Vancouver is in or the Rangers where they got these big contracts coming up that they got to sign. So what they're gaining, so really they're doing a favor for the Rangers. So they get a second-round pick for free, basically.
Yeah.
They get Mark Stahl, who is not done that great.
He'll be cheaper once you resign.
But the thing is that here's the thing. We'll see how he does in that one season. And you got two choices. You can either re-sign him for a much cheaper deal, or you can just drop him and you still got your second rounder that you got. It's a great trade for both teams, I think, because the Rangers needed to get cap space to re-sign D'Angelo and players like that, and Detroit, they're rebuilding, so they need picks, and honestly, I think it was a good trade both ways.
Yeah, it's solid, honestly. Did you see this thing of everybody from the 2016-17 Ottawa Senators playoff run is now no longer playing with the Ottawa Senators?
Every single one of them.
Every single one of them. Because Craig Anderson is going to hit free agency, and Mark Borowiecki is going to hit free agency. This is the photo.
Oh, with all the...
They're all wearing different jerseys.
All they're wearing different jerseys, yeah.
Yes. Every single one of them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I'm just waiting for Bellingham.
Yeah, that's Mike Condon. He's terrible.
Yeah.
But like...
So, going off what I was saying about the Rangers opening up some cap room, Henrik Lundqvist.
And they opened up more cap room now.
Yep, Henrik Lundqvist.
Zucchini's dead.
Got bought out.
King Henrik.
Yeah.
Bobby Ryan did as well, actually.
Yeah, that one I wasn't...
Here's the thing. With Bobby Ryan's is that...
I'm iffy on that.
Bobby Ryan had a contract that wasn't able to ever get moved. And
How much was he making?
Might have been 8 mil.
Okay.
Which is a tough,
That's a tough contract. He's a great player,
Ryan.
but it's a lot of money.
Yeah, no, it was he was making a lot of money for pretty much not a lot of production. Well, he was out on that alcoholism thing.
Yeah, and then he came back and scored a hat-trick in his first game?
Good for him. But yeah,
and you know what? One thing I'm going to say about Bobby Ryan, totally deserved the Masterton.
Such a nice guy. Such a nice
And
guy.
I don't know if you guys have watched.
It's just watch. We won't spoil it. Just watch Ryan versus Ryan. It's very.
I wasn't
funny.
talking about that, but okay. Yeah, that was him with
Ryan Getzlaf.
Yeah. So.
What were you saying?
I was talking about basically, if you haven't seen the video already, of about where this whole alcoholism with Bobby Ryan thing happened.
Oh,
where he
yeah.
talks about his childhood and stuff like that.
Notice how I
highly recommend watching that.
I took the very optimistic road on that, and you took this is the sobering reality of life. My name's Carter Nolan, and thank you for watching. Okay, so Bobby Ryan
we were just talking about how he won the Masters.
Oh, Bobby Ryan had a bad contract.
How much is it?
It's not just the money; it's what was in it. He had a $7.25 million cap hit, with a modified no trade clause and a no movement clause. Ugh.
Yikes.
That's just not good, honestly.
Yeah.
So now he's bought out, so he's only going to make $1.83 million for the next 4 years.
Jeez.
Yeah, that's how the buyout works. I see him getting picked up. I see him getting picked up as a depth piece.
Yep.
Like middle six.
Now, here's a big question. Who would pick him up?
Boston? Maybe. Boston
Maybe.
likes Boston.
How much
likes
cap?
moving
Well, they got a few.
I don't know what's cap in there, and I'm not gonna waste time checking.
Because they got a few. They got a few players that they got to re-sign. Like.
Well, okay. Well, Torrey Krug isn't coming back. Torrey Krug's out.
Yeah, I think everyone's pretty much.
Chara's like on his last year, I think.
Yeah, he's on his last legs right now.
Those are the main contracts, honestly.
Wasn't
they've talked about moving? They've talked about moving Jake DeBrusk, which also leads us to what we've heard recently. OEL, so Oliver Ekman-Larsson
waived his no trade clause with Boston and Vancouver.
Yes.
So,
but here's the thing: do you think Boston and Vancouver want Oliver Ekman-Larsson?
Boston for sure. No. Not Boston.
Do you think Vancouver does?
If they do, not now, because they got some contracts they gotta re-sign.
Well, here's the thing, though. I think
they I don't know, like, because I mean, like, what Arizona right now is asking for, they want a defensive prospect, a first-round pick.
You know why they want that, right? Because Arizona violated the combine laws, so they don't have a first-round pick next year.
Well, yeah.
And they don't have a second-round pick this year? Question mark?
They want one of their prospects that they illegally saw.
Yes. They're like, we want the prospect and we want him. How do you know you want him? We know we want him. we know we
trust
want
me,
him.
It's this guy.
The chart says.
Yeah, that's honest. That's just pathetic. That's pathetic. Like.
Yeah, it's very Arizona of them. Like, bad things happen to that franchise.
They received a fine with that as well, didn't they?
Probably.
They must have.
Probably.
I was like, they're already how much in debt? Like.
Well, the thing is, yeah, that's the problem with franchises like Arizona and Florida.
Well, Florida.
Arizona and Florida are freaking in trouble because they actually don't make a lot of money, so they can't even hit the cap.
Florida's not in trouble.
Really?
Do you know why?
Why?
Because the owner that owns the Florida Panthers also owns the Jacksonville Jaguars NFL team. So whatever
is this new information?
No, this is not new. This is old information.
Okay.
And anything he loses on his NHL team, he will easily make that back with his NFL club.
Does he know that?
Oh, he knows that, which to me doesn't make any sense of why doesn't he just sell the team and then instead of be paying debts with your other team, you just pocket it.
Maybe because he just...
He's so proud of the Florida Panthers.
They made it to the Cup final.
Well, I'm talking recent memory. When did they make the Cup final?
96.
Okay.
Maybe 96. They made it to they got swept. They made it to the Cup final against Colorado. First time they did it.
Oh yeah, Colorado in the mid-90s.
Quadruple overtime. Game 4. That was the year when they threw the rats on the ice?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's John Van Beesbrook led the Florida Panthers to the Cup final
Yeah.
And the final score of Game 4 was 1-0 in quadruple overtime. 1-0.
Quadruple.
4 overtimes, I believe.
Okay, how many saves did those goalies make?
I don't know, because it's tough to remember that off the top of my frickin' head.
If you
but
search it up.
later.
Okay.
But there's some things we need to discuss.
Yeah.
So here's one thing that caught me by surprise. Oscar Klefbom might be injured. Did you see that?
Yeah, I heard about that.
That is terrifying for the Oilers because he's their best defenseman and it's not even close. He produces, which honestly, like, and say what you like. In my opinion, I like offensive defensemen. I think my recent history of opinions on who I've said are the best defensemen in the league support that. Because for me, it's just easy to see. Okay, a guy is contributing to making plays to win the game.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, I don't get me wrong.
There's
there's no place I don't have for defensive defensemen.
I was about to say, I think with each team, you have to have a mix of 3 kinds of defensemen. Defensemen that are offensive.
Okay.
Defensemen that are defensive.
Okay.
And some defense that got some strength. And, like... And some
we don't have that.
Yeah, the Jets
we don't have that.
The Jets don't have that.
We have one.
I mean, we
have 1.5. Like, half defensive.
Probably, like, I mean, having Bufflin was huge because you got a guy who's got strength and offensive abilities. Because, I mean, you got some defensemen that, like, sure, they got some strength, but they're just walking carpets on the
It's that grit, though. It's that grit.
Yeah.
Like,
like, you like to have a
Zach
little more.
Bogosian is a grit guy.
We need to have a little bit of that.
Yeah,
bring Bogosian back to Winnipeg.
I don't know how long he signed for. So that, yeah. So Oliver Ekman-Larsson, though, I feel like we got way the frick off topic. Oliver Ekman-Larsson to Vancouver, I don't like it.
Well, you know.
I personally don't like it.
I don't like it either, to be honest. I don't think. And it's funny because when I look at it, what other rumors that I heard about, and this is a team that obviously Ekman-Larsson did not waive his no movement clause for, but I heard about Edmonton being an interesting thing, and I was just kind of like, Edmonton, can they afford it? Can they not?
They probably can.
They probably can. And
like,
I mean,
think about the contracts they're paying other than McDavid.
Huge for Edmonton. Getting a guy like Ekman-Larsson on their blue line.
But even that, I don't know. Because here's my problem with Oliver Ekman-Larsson. Do you know how much he makes?
How much?
$8.2 million.
Yeah. There's your...
But
well, that's why I was... That's why I, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if they're moving Ekman-Larsson, if the other team in this deal is going to be like, hey, like, you got to retain some salary.
Well, not even just that, but the dude's getting paid till 26, 27. He had 30 points last year.
Yeah, and he's already 29 years old.
He's hit a decline, so to speak. Like, he's kind of peaked at that 40-point mark. But, like, statistically speaking, analytically, he's bad. He looks bad on the ice. His defensive zone is not there. He's looked very like subpar. And I don't think if you're the Vancouver Canucks, like, don't get me wrong, I understand Vancouver's thought process. In Jim Benning's head, he knows that he has a core to run with for the future, but he wants a few guys to add a little bit of veteran support, because there's not many vets. Like, true vets.
I mean,
Bo Horvat is now officially a vet. This playoff made him a vet.
Oh, for sure.
Other than that...
Now, here's another question, just kind of going off that Vancouver thing, just because I think we spent a good amount of time on the Ekman-Larsson there already. What do you think about Jacob Markstrom?
I don't think he resigns.
I don't think so either.
Well, here's the thing.
Well, maybe.
Can I give my thoughts on this?
Yeah.
The thing is that a lot of times when players have to re-sign on the open market, they don't want to re-sign usually in Canadian markets, because Canadian markets, $7 million Canadian is not the same as $7 million in the States. It just isn't.
And taxes are a lot higher in Canada.
That is why. That is 100% why. Yeah. Like, let me...
Well, actually, they all NHL players get paid in American dollars.
Yes, but that's not what I'm saying, though.
So remember that.
I'm just saying is that...
Just because I'm saying if a player in Canada is making $8 million and a player in the US is making $8 million, they're both making $8 million. However, the player in Canada is paying more in income tax. So that's that's what will get you.
Yeah.
That's why honestly, like Florida, I'm not talking about the Panthers. I'm just talking about the whole state of Florida. So Tampa or Florida, those are very appealing teams to go to for some players because there's now obviously the Lightning are a lot more appealing than the Panthers are, but in the sense of no state tax there, none.
Mm-hmm.
So,
tax calculator. I found it. I was looking at this the other night, and so you know what the tax rate, for example,
in which
in every market. I have it in every market here. Okay.
Okay, there you go. Look
So
at this.
taxes in Edmonton, 42.78%, which gets you. If you're making an annual salary of $650,000, taxes will be $278,000 and 70.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is significantly a huge drop compared to a huge rise compared to Florida Panthers, $205,000. So it's $70,000 difference just for $650K.
Yeah, and that's only going to get bigger as you're talking about bigger contracts.
Well, exactly. Like all of the Canadian markets here have high numbers.
I mean, you can
like
get to the point.
Winnipeg has 46%, Vancouver has 44%, Toronto has 47%.
How much is Winnipeg then?
Winnipeg's is 46. Ottawa is 47% as well.
Well, it's because it's provincial tax.
Montreal is 49%. Edmonton's 42.
And that's
Calgary's 42.
And that's one reason why the Nordiques having them ever come back makes it that much more difficult.
Yes, that's why that is a problem with having the Nordiques. Because the taxes are almost 50 freaking%.
And especially since the only chance Quebec ever gets their team back is through not expansion, relocation. They will never. Quebec can. The problem is they have an arena. They have it. It's a nice rink. It's a really nice arena. Problem is they have owners in theory. Not really, because the thing is that when the Thrashers moved to Winnipeg, they talked to Quebec, and Quebec's kind of like, it's a little too rich for our blood. And then Trudeau stepped in and like, oh, we'll take them. We got a building, we got owners, we got everything. Come here.
Is that the actual manuscript of the conversation? We got a building, we got everything. Come here.
Yeah. The whole decision to move Atlanta to Winnipeg happened in about 30 seconds.
Now let's talk about things as well. Let's talk about.
We're getting a little off topic.
Me.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to trail it off? We'll blame me this time.
So Dumba is on the market. I don't know if I want him. But Dumba also represents the antithesis of what I like in a defenseman. He's not the biggest offensive guy. He's a defensive defenseman.
Dumba would be a perfect fit on the Jets roster
if it's affordable.
With two exceptions.
Okay.
Number one, if it's affordable.
Yep.
Number two, we need some damn strength, and I don't see Dumba bringing that much.
You don't think Dumba brings strength?
Well, I think he brings some. I don't think he brings as much as the Jets need right now.
Well, what in your head brings strength to the defense?
Well, I mean, we can.
I'll be honest.
Sure,
I'm shit out of ideas. I legitimately don't know.
It's not even just that. You just get a guy like Reeves. I don't care. Put him on the fourth line.
Not his contract. No.
How much is he getting paid?
6
mil.
It's a decent contract.
Yeah.
But anyway,
So.
Dumba, I don't know if I'd want him. There's probably I don't want to say. And here's the thing. I'm not saying I want a better defenseman than Dumba, but I want a different defenseman than Dumba.
Yeah.
Because Dumba has name value. So with name value, we'll bring money.
Yeah. Okay. Now, one thing I think we should kind of talk about mainly, and this is one of the biggest things that's out there right now, Patrick Laine. So, do you think we should trade him? And I'm going to answer this first. No.
That's it? No, I don't. And
no,
it's funny, we talked
little
about this.
exceptions.
We talked about this last
Yep.
podcast. We talked about how it would get the King's ransom.
And
you know what?
It
At
totally
the time,
would, especially for a guy like Shovel Day.
You know what? At the time, I was like, "Yeah, let's get the King's ransom. Give us all your stars." I'm a little hesitant now.
And
you know why?
And this is something you were telling me about the more I thought of it, the more that it makes sense in the sense of that this is because of how big of a trade this is. You have to make this trade when you're looking at okay, this next season, that's our season. Yeah. I do not see that with the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I actually okay. So for anyone wondering the question, this is pretty much what I said. I said if you're trading Laine, what you're doing is you're probably getting a prospect for the future. Okay, so that means he's not gonna involve himself until probably the end of your playoff window, or if in this playoff window we'll call it. He's probably not gonna be an immediate impact player. You probably want an immediate impact player, but the catch will be that immediate impact player will not have the same potential as Laine did. That's why, otherwise it would have been a 1-for-1 trade.
And there's a guaranteed first-round pick.
First-round pick, which goes with the prospect, which will be for a later time slot, pretty much.
And the big thing is that...
And then, so then the ultimate question is Laine worth the second-line center that you get and the possibility at future players for the next window? I say no. And here's why. Every single player that the Jets have put into our roster, carefully placed them in so that we are going to succeed, all of them have their window right now. Wheeler's at the end here. Wheeler will not be in this for another playoff window. This is his last playoff window, whether we want to admit it or not. He's on his last contract. And a bunch of the guys that we have, I don't know, but I'll tell you right now, that the playoff window will close in about 5 years. Fully. No chance it stays open past that. And here's why. Scheifele's contract goes up around that time. Connor's contract goes up around that time. Ehlers' contract goes up around that time. Morrissey. Hellebuck. At this point, we don't have a core anymore.
Yeah.
Your players have to be motivated to tell themselves, is our team missing things? Yes. But can we afford to keep waiting and waiting? No, we cannot. Because every year you wait, you waste a year on a guy like Kyle Connor's contract. His contract looks great. And I like his contract.
Yeah. And another thing is, especially when, Scheifele's contract come up, he's going to be okay...
I'm scared we'll lose Scheifele to free agency.
I am too, because how much is he making? $5 million?
He's making $6.5 million.
$6.5 million.
And he's been a point-per-game player for the last 3 years.
Making $6.5 million. And it's one of those things where, when his contract comes up, he's not going to be willing to take...
You're giving him...
He took that deal because he's all right, I'm willing to take a little bit
Back when he was Bambi.
I'm willing to take a little bit less money, so that way... our team, we can build a cup contending team.
Mm-hmm.
If our window is passed and his contract expires, he is not gonna have that. He's not gonna have that same mindset.
It's tough to argue. Yes, I will say this, but here's the problem right now. I don't know if Cheveldayoff knows that, and Cheveldayoff had a chance today to say we're not moving him. He didn't.
Yeah.
There's two trains of thought here.
Now I think
here's the one train of thought. Well, he's just saying that because nobody should ever get too comfortable, blah, blah, blah. The other thought is, why would you need to say that? Yes, you could trade him anyway afterwards and turn out you were lying, but don't tell people you're gonna move him.
Well, I mean...
That is not a good environment.
Well,
How would you feel if you were sitting in a locker room and you heard your coach say, after a person's like, hey, do you think we should... do you think Carter Nolan is trading? Okay, it doesn't matter who.
Okay.
In your case, it'll be the coach who has the responsibility to do it. And your coach says, well, we're weighing all our options. You'd be like, am I leaving the dressing room soon?
Yeah, I mean... Because, correct me, this was with Cheveldayoff, right?
Yes.
So, and now, correct me if I'm wrong, what he said was... Well, we're
keeping all our options.
We're looking to move a few guys or something like that.
Yeah,
and you know what that kind of tells me? That kind of tells me that there might be a done deal somewhere.
That can't be yet.
I don't know.
Here, you know what I also noticed?
Think of it this way.
Here's the other thing I noticed. Here's my question. This is very Jet specific podcast right now, and it will be for probably the remainder of it. But I will say this.
And for most podcasts.
When is us aligning coming up? Because he's going to be a middle six top top 6, probably middle 6 forward, right?
Yeah, he's a winger, right?
Uh-huh. You know what? And you know who the Jets are eyeing for and I fucking said this! And I'm so excited that I said this, and TSN said I was right! And they said, who will the Jets select? Winnipeg native Seth Jarvis. And I had said this for a week and a half now, and if it happens, I'm going to be like, see? But here's why. You don't need to draft another defenseman, because your defensemen are in the system. You can make a low-range buy for a defensive defenseman with size in free agency. You don't need to draft a bunch of young defensemen, because then you're just waiting for them to develop. We're waiting on Jake to get ready for the NHL. Let's not make the playoffs for 3 years. Huh? Like, no.
And also, one thing I would like to mention, and you've pointed this out, but I've noticed this by myself as well. How many interviews and stuff have they done with this, with Jarvis?
They've done 2 separate things. One was a prospect tracker, which rang a couple bells to me. I'm like, hey, why wouldn't they do a prospect tracker for the guy who's actually supposed to go 10th overall, not the guy who's predicted to go 12th or maybe even as low as like 15th overall? However, this is a deep draft, and I've heard very good things about Seth Jarvis.
Oh, me as
well. And you know what? You know what I like about this?
What?
When players play in their hometown, they can get motivation all the time.
Yep.
Pat Maroon went back to his hometown, and that's when they won the cup. Like, and Cody Eakin did solid for the couple games he played in Winnipeg even. Like, there are guys that if they play in their home rink, they are just motivated. John Tavares put up like 40 goals in his first season with the Maple Leafs. He's still an elite player. We just don't talk about him as much because the Leafs are all offense and forget the defense. They literally put out 5 forwards and they're like, let's win the game, boys. Like, that's why we don't talk about their forwards as much, because they're just all there. Like, guys will be motivated to play for their hometown team. And that's damn when it's not Winnipeg, but like, I think Jarvis could do fine.
And
he's
especially
a centerman that can play wing.
And that's perfect. And also
damn!
And also with that sort of thing, like we were talking about earlier, where with Canadian markets, it can be really hard.
You can't make huge splashes in free agency.
You can't, like, it's
because if you're spending
hard. Well, it's hard to get some players to play in Canadian markets with those higher taxes and with stuff like that. And some don't like the winter. And I get that.
Well, like
but when you got a player like Seth Jarvis, if it's your hometown, that's different.
Well, he's going to be but you're thinking way ahead. You're thinking like 7 years down the line, because you got to sign an entry level first.
Well, yeah,
here's my thing, though. This is why I don't think many teams can make huge splashes at free agency. Because you notice how the Leafs paid $11 million for John Tavares, right? Canadian markets can't really do that, and here's why. If the player is universally agreed upon that he is worth more than $7 million, $7 million Canadian will not be the same as $7 million American. That's why, because $7 million like in the American market, $7 million will be more because of taxes.
Yeah, you're talking because of taxes. You're not talking.
Yes.
Yeah, you're
I'm
not
talking
talking
because of taxes. Trade. So if the world universally agrees, for example, that this defenseman should be paid more than $8 million, your $8 million will not be worth as much as another person's $8 million. You know what's a prime example of this? Alexander Radulov. Canadians offered him this, tried to lowball him at first, then realized the market was interested in him. Dallas offered him a certain amount of money. Montreal offered the exact same, but as we've discussed here, Montreal's
49%.
49% taxes.
That's half your paycheck gone.
Well, it's not okay. It's probably not as much on bigger contracts, but you know what I mean? It's still, a bigger.
It's still like half.
Well, like if we're counting, okay, but I don't know how the tax works on increased money, so to speak. So I'm not gonna get too much on it. Enter an annual salary.
It's a hockey podcast, not a tax podcast.
Oh, so the tax rate
finances.
probably changes based on how much money you make.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like a progressive tax rate.
Yeah, it changes based on how much you make.
Yeah. The higher you get, the
So
more
if you
tax.
make $8 million,
How much would he lose?
how
How much would he lose?
4.24
$4.24
as opposed to Dallas.
million dollars.
As opposed to Dallas, that would lose $2.9 million.
Good God.
Let's just see for a second. So John
That's a
Tavares
$1 million
makes
difference.
$11 million, or makes 10, something like that. Like the big contracts get sliced up by this stuff. Yes, I am aware. I am aware.
No, we don't want the camera to run out of footage again.
So, and I know we missed quite a bit of things to talk about today. There's been so much. I think me and you should probably do some stuff covering the draft and free agency for sure. Possibly in a separate video.
Yeah.
Because there's just so much to talk about in the like, and so many little signings we missed, and we do know. Like Susie was signed by Minnesota, Mulligan was signed by Toronto, Brossois was signed by the Jets. By the way, I would just quickly say I like that deal. Brossois, you don't want to pay too much for a backup goalie. It's $1.5 million. That doesn't cut into the cap too much. All good. 1 year deal. So he's probably just trying to get his numbers up before he can go out and try to be a starter somewhere else. Totally get it. But yeah, like, I wait to see what happens, but, like, I'm very interested.
When's the draft again?
I think it's on the 8th.
Oh, shoot, it's soon. I didn't realize it was that quick.
Draft NHL 20. NHL 2020. The 2020 draft will be held virtually October 9th and 10th.
No, it's the date that matters the most.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think that pretty much is it.
Yeah, okay.
So, for those of you who are still here, thank you for watching. Like, share, and subscribe. Comment below what you would like us to talk about in the coming future, because there's a lot to talk about, and sometimes we don't have enough time to get to everything. So it's tough. And, follow us on Instagram at No One Hockey Podcast. And that'll be all. Thanks for watching.